Welcome to Crafted Nest, where imagination meets simplicity. Here, we embrace the beauty of small spaces and show how forgotten objects can bloom again with purpose. With the art of observe, imitate, and modify, every garden corner can be transformed into something extraordinary, filled with charm, history, and warmth. Today, we'll wander through 15 rustic garden inspirations, each crafted from recycled materials that are easy to find and simple to use. These ideas are not just designs, but living stories, breathing new life into wood, glass, stone, and metal. Every piece you'll see proves that creativity is not about what we buy, but about how we reimagine what we already have. As you journey with us through these heartfelt designs, we invite you to pause, to reflect, and to dream about how your own garden could become a haven of renewal. And if you find inspiration here, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest. Your support helps us continue bringing soulful ideas to life, turning ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. In the quiet embrace of a small garden, the simplest objects can be reborn into vessels of joy. This is the spirit of blooming ingenuity, where forgotten items once meant for the landfill awaken as cradles for life and color. Imagine walking into your backyard and finding an old wheelbarrow, its paint chipped, its iron worn. Once a tool of labor, it now brims with brilliant daisies, their golden petals shining against the morning light. The contrast of rugged rust and soft blooms creates a beauty that feels both nostalgic and new. Nearby, a vintage bathtub, long removed from its place of comfort, overflows with a cascade of petunias, geraniums, and marigolds. Its porcelain may be cracked, but in those cracks, nature whispers stories of resilience. Every flower that rises from these vessels tells us that beauty does not come from perfection, but from renewal. Perhaps you have old buckets or paint cans hidden in a shed. Instead of discarding them, a splash of soil and seeds can turn them into miniature flower beds, scattered across your patio. Even worn-out tires, stacked and painted in playful hues, become colorful rings of blossoms. The magic lies not in the cost, but in the creativity. Each of these creations carries a touch of personal history, a memory embedded in steel or porcelain, now embraced by living petals. With every bloom, your garden transforms into a gallery of second chances, a reminder that nothing is truly wasted when given the gift of imagination. In the heart of blooming ingenuity, we find that our gardens can be more than just spaces to plant. They can be poems written in flowers, sung through the language of renewal. There is something deeply comforting about sitting on furniture that carries a story within its frame. Rustic furniture revival is not about chasing perfection. It is about embracing the soul of weathered wood and giving it a second life. In the garden, every crack in a bench, every faded mark on a tabletop, whispers of years gone by. Picture a simple wooden pallet, perhaps once used to carry heavy goods. With a little care, it transforms into a garden bench, sturdy yet humble. You sit upon it with a cup of tea in hand, and it feels as though the wood itself is grounding you, connecting past to present. Nearby, an old fence panel becomes a table, rough edges softened by time. Upon it rests a clay pot of herbs, their fragrance mingling with the scent of sun-warmed timber. This is not store-bought furniture polished to perfection. This is furniture that breathes, that speaks, that belongs. Even discarded crates find new purpose as chairs. Some may not match in size or shape, yet side by side they create harmony in their imperfection. Painted in soft pastels or left in their natural state, they invite you to sit, to pause, to share moments. The beauty of rustic furniture lies not just in appearance, but in presence. It teaches us that sustainability can be warm and welcoming, that charm is born from authenticity. And when you create such pieces with your own hands, the garden becomes more than a place to grow. It becomes an extension of your story, etched into every seat and surface. In Rustic Furniture Revival, each piece is not just furniture. It is a companion to your quiet mornings, your conversations, your laughter under the open sky. Sometimes, The most delightful gardens are born from a playful heart. Playful DIY planters is where imagination meets simplicity, turning everyday items into joyful vessels of life. There is no need for expensive pots when the charm lies in the unexpected. Picture a line of bright rain boots by the fence. Once companions of rainy days, they now overflow with daisies, marigolds, and sprigs of herbs. Their colors pop against the weathered wood, creating a scene that feels both whimsical and full of life. Each step they once took is now echoed in the growth of green leaves reaching upward. Nearby, tin cans once destined for the trash have been given coats of soft pastel paint. Hung with twine along a rustic wall, they sway gently in the breeze, cradling mint, basil, or thyme. Their humble origins fade beneath the freshness of their new purpose, nurturing life. Even soda bottles, clear and fragile, can sparkle again when used as planters. Imagine ivy cascading from their cut edges, the sunlight dancing through the glass as though it were stained with stories. It is proof that beauty does not always need to be bought. Sometimes it is discovered in what we already have. These creations remind us that gardens are not about rules, but about joy. They invite laughter, creativity, and a childlike wonder into our outdoor spaces. More than decoration, they are acts of renewal, small promises that nothing is too ordinary to hold life. In Playful DIY planters, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And with every bloom that emerges from a boot, a can, or a bottle, we are reminded that gardens, like people, shine brightest when they embrace the unexpected. There is an unspoken beauty in the act of bringing together what has been forgotten. Found object harmony is the art of weaving scattered pieces into a unified garden where every discarded item finds a second voice. In this way, a garden becomes more than a place of plants. It becomes a living mosaic of memory and renewal. Imagine stepping onto a path paved not with store-bought tiles, but with fragments of broken pottery. Each shard carries its own history, yet together they form a colorful trail guiding your steps. Beside it, weathered bricks stand tall, framing the walkway like guardians of time. What was once overlooked is now essential. In another corner, old metal scraps, perhaps the frame of a forgotten tool or part of an abandoned gate, are reshaped into art. Rust glimmers softly under the afternoon sun, reminding us that even in decay, beauty can be found. The garden breathes differently with such features, carrying the weight of stories while embracing new life. Wooden crates, chipped pots, and scattered stones, each with their imperfections, stand together holding blooms of green and gold. They do not compete but complement, their contrasts blending into harmony. The garden becomes a symphony where every recycled note adds depth to the music. This is the essence of found object harmony: to see potential where others see waste, to craft unity from fragments, and to give nature a canvas rich with character. When we gather these pieces and allow them to coexist, we create a sanctuary that feels whole, authentic, and deeply personal. Here, the garden whispers not of perfection, but of acceptance, that beauty often blooms in the joining of broken parts. In the gentle corners of small spaces, there lies the possibility of retreat. Eco-chic retreat is the dream of transforming modest balconies and patios into havens where sustainability and beauty live side by side. Here, the garden is not sprawling, yet its heart is abundant. Picture a balcony where wooden pallets rise like green walls, each pocket filled with herbs, basil, mint, parsley, breathing freshness into the air. Hanging glass jars become lanterns, their simple glow catching the afternoon sun. The space feels alive, not through grandeur, but through intention. In a quiet backyard, a single tire, painted softly, brims with flowers. What once was a castaway becomes a centerpiece of joy, surrounded by a border of glass bottles shimmering in the light. Their imperfections add charm, their presence reduces waste. Together they whisper of a future where beauty is kind to the planet. Even the simplest patio, adorned with tin cans and wooden crates, can become a place of refuge. Each container tells a story of meals shared, of objects once discarded, now reborn as vessels of life. A rustic chair nearby invites you to pause, to breathe, to rest in the companionship of greenery. The spirit of Eco-chic retreat is not about filling space, but about curating intention. It proves that luxury lies not in expense, but in mindfulness. To sit among these creations is to feel that you are part of something larger, a rhythm of renewal, where every plant nurtured is a small promise to the earth. In such spaces, the garden becomes not only a retreat for the body, but a sanctuary for the soul, teaching us that living beautifully is inseparable from living responsibly. There is a quiet beauty in objects that have lived long lives. Weathered charm crates remind us that old wooden boxes, once used to carry fruit or tools, can carry something more profound, life itself. Their surfaces may be scarred by time, but within those scars lies character, and within their hollow frames, a new story begins. Picture a simple backyard where crates are stacked like steps, each one cradling a burst of greenery. Herbs spill from the top, flowers lean gracefully over the sides, and soil peeks through the cracks. The roughness of the wood contrasts with the delicacy of the blooms, creating harmony through difference. One crate may hold lavender, its fragrance drifting softly on the breeze. Another may nurture rosemary, sturdy and evergreen. The mix of herbs and blossoms turns the simplest wooden box into a living sculpture, shaped not by perfection but by authenticity. Even a single crate, left on stone pavement, becomes a treasure when filled with growth. Its faded paint and weathered edges speak of markets long past, of journeys carried on strong shoulders. Now, instead of holding goods, it holds life, proving that endings can become beginnings. The charm of these crates is not only visual, but emotional. They teach us that beauty need not be flawless, that usefulness does not vanish with age. In the garden, they stand as testaments to resilience, their imperfections embraced as part of their story. Weathered charm crates show us that with a little soil, a touch of imagination, and a seed of hope, even the most ordinary wooden box can be reborn as a keeper of life, a bearer of both history and hope. Some gardens carry more than plants, they carry memories. Homestead nostalgia invites us back to a time when simplicity was enough, when every object in a home had a story to tell. In these rustic corners, history does not fade. It blooms anew. Imagine a weathered ladder resting against a wall, each rung supporting clay pots filled with flowers. Once used to reach rooftops, it now reaches toward the sky in another way through blossoms. Its faded wood, etched by years of use, becomes a frame for growth. Nearby, an old milk can, heavy and dented, no longer carries the weight of cream but the lightness of daisies. Their bright faces spill over the rim, softening the metal's coldness with warmth. Around it, antique tools stand like sentinels, their iron edges dulled by time, yet glowing with character. In the corner of a small garden, these pieces gather not by chance, but by intention. Each contributes to an atmosphere that feels both lived in and inviting. It is a place where the hum of bees mingles with the quiet rustle of leaves, where one can sit and feel connected to the rhythms of the past. Homestead nostalgia is not about decoration alone. It is about honoring what came before, embracing objects once essential, now reimagined as companions to the garden. They bring a touch of rural charm into urban lives, offering comfort through familiarity. In such a garden, every glance reminds us that beauty lies in continuity. The past is not left behind but woven into the present, turning even the smallest outdoor space into a homestead of memory and belonging. Every step can be a story, and every path can be a canvas. Mosaic pathway magic transforms what is broken into something whole, turning fragments of pottery and tile into art that carries you through the garden. It is not about perfection. It is about celebration, about honoring the beauty hidden in pieces once considered useless. Imagine walking barefoot on a path crafted from old ceramic shards. The pieces glimmer under the sun, blue from a once beloved teacup, green from a cracked vase, red from a shattered plate. Together they form patterns that feel spontaneous yet meaningful, a patchwork quilt beneath your feet. Bricks, chipped and irregular, join the dance, adding depth to the design. Grass peeks gently between them, softening the hard lines with nature's own hand. Each step feels alive, grounded in earth, yet singing with color. The charm lies in the transformation. What was once destined for the trash now carries you forward, guiding your journey through flowers and foliage. The garden does not hide its imperfections, it celebrates them, weaving them into something beautiful. Creating such a pathway is not only practical, but deeply personal. Every piece you lay down carries a memory, a fragment of history. Perhaps it is a plate from your grandmother's kitchen, or tiles from a home long loved. As you walk, you do not just move through space, you move through stories. Mosaic pathway magic teaches us that even in brokenness, there is hope, that beauty can be reborn in unexpected forms. A path made this way does more than connect points in a garden. It connects the past to the present, the ordinary to the extraordinary. There is a certain tenderness in giving familiar objects a new role. Vintage Container Haven is a world where teapots, buckets, and enamel kettles, once part of daily rituals, now cradle flowers and herbs. Their beauty lies not only in their age, but in the way they blend memory with life. Imagine a garden table covered in antique teapots, each holding a burst of green and color. Some are chipped, others faded, yet together they become a family of planters, each one unique. Their spouts, once pouring tea, now spill over with vines and blossoms, carrying a new kind of nourishment. An old galvanized bucket stands proudly with geraniums spilling out in bright red clusters. Once utilitarian, it now shines as a centerpiece of joy. Beside it, a wooden crate breathes new life into herbs, their fragrance rising in the warm air. These containers, though mismatched, form a haven of history and growth. Even a cracked enamel kettle, perched on a stone wall, takes on a poetic charm as ivy flows from its opening. Its imperfections do not diminish its worth. Instead, they remind us that time adds character, not weakness. The magic of Vintage Container Haven is that it turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It transforms objects of daily life into vessels of renewal, making gardens not only green but soulful. Every planter tells a story. Every bloom a reminder that life continues in unexpected ways. When you place such items in your garden, you do not merely decorate, you curate a collection of memories, keeping the past alive while celebrating the present. In these vintage containers, beauty is not bought, but rediscovered. A garden is more than a place of plants, it can also be a gallery of art. Upcycled garden art transforms forgotten treasures into pieces that speak not only of beauty, but of imagination. Every object, once discarded, can be reborn as a feature that surprises, delights, and inspires. Picture an old bicycle, its wheels frozen in time, leaning gently against a fence. Its basket brims with blossoms, turning what once carried journeys into a stationary sculpture of life. The rust upon its frame is not a flaw, but a patina of history, reminding us of miles traveled, now rooted in place. Nearby, wooden window frames stand tall, no longer opening to rooms, but opening to the sky. Ivy and roses climb through them, weaving nature into architecture. Each vine that curls around the wood feels like a brushstroke on a canvas, blurring the line between human creation and natural growth. And then there are glass bottles, clear, green, and amber, arranged into a suncatcher that glows when sunlight finds them. The colors spill across a stone path like fragments of rainbow, a gentle reminder that even the simplest objects can hold magic when seen with new eyes. This is the heart of upcycled garden art. To look beyond the ordinary, to see art where others see waste. It does not demand expense or perfection, only vision and care. A garden filled with such creations becomes more than a place to grow. It becomes a reflection of the spirit that shapes it, resourceful, imaginative, and deeply human. In every corner, in every unexpected detail, the garden becomes a story told not just in plants but in artistry, reminding us that beauty is not found, but made. There's a kind of magic that lives in light, the way it dances, the way it softens, the way it turns ordinary evenings into moments of wonder. Fairy Light Whispers embraces this magic by reimagining bottles and jars as vessels of glow, transforming recycled glass into lanterns that whisper warmth into the garden. Imagine glass jars, once filled with jams or preserves, now suspended from tree branches. As the sun sets, fairy lights inside them awaken, casting soft glimmers across leaves and petals. By day, the jars catch the sunlight, their surfaces gleaming gently like drops of crystal. By night, they become stars that have descended into your backyard. In another corner, old wine bottles, once raised in celebration, now hold candles. Their flames flicker against the glass, painting the garden with golden hues. The wood of the table beneath them carries their glow, turning the simplest of evenings into a feast of atmosphere. Along a stone path, colorful bottles line the way. Solar lights hidden within them charge under the sun, preparing for their nightly performance. As twilight falls, they awaken together, guiding each step with a gentle radiance. The charm of Fairy Light Whispers lies not in extravagance, but in transformation. It shows us how ordinary glass, clear, green, amber, can become the keepers of light, turning recycled objects into symbols of renewal. They are practical yet poetic, eco-friendly yet enchanting. In such lights, we find more than illumination. We find comfort. They remind us that beauty does not always come from new things, but from how we choose to see the old. With every glow, your garden becomes not only a sanctuary of plants, but a sanctuary of dreams. Gardens need not demand wealth to be beautiful. Budget Rustic Beauty celebrates the truth that charm can be created with what is already around us: discarded bricks, forgotten planks, scattered branches. It is the art of building beauty with resourcefulness, of crafting elegance from simplicity. Picture a garden bed raised not by store-bought timber, but by old bricks stacked with care, their edges uneven yet sturdy. Between them, herbs grow fragrant, their leaves swaying gently in the breeze. Sunlight warms the surface, revealing the quiet dignity of reused material. Nearby, a pathway sparkles with broken ceramic tiles, their fragments pieced together into an unexpected tapestry of color. Wildflowers peek between the cracks, softening the hard edges and making the walkway feel alive. Each step upon it is a reminder that imperfection can be delightful. A rustic fence of twigs and branches surrounds a small patch of vegetables. It is uneven, perhaps even fragile in appearance, yet it carries a character that polished fences cannot. Its form speaks of hands at work, of patience, of intention. The spirit of budget rustic beauty lies in its accessibility. It whispers that you do not need riches to create a space that comforts the heart. What you need is imagination and the willingness to see potential in the overlooked. Every reused brick, every shard of tile, every twisted branch is a piece of a puzzle that builds more than a garden. It builds connection. In such a place, you feel the richness of effort, not expense. The garden becomes a story of care, where thrift transforms into elegance, and where even the most modest space can bloom into timeless beauty. A garden does not need vast fields to feed you. Even the smallest corners can become harvest havens. Tiny Harvest Corner shows us how recycled containers, humble and familiar, can nurture herbs and vegetables that bring flavor and freshness to the table. Picture a few wooden wine boxes, their edges worn by time. With soil and care, they now hold basil, cilantro, and parsley. Their green leaves sway under the sun, ready to be plucked and stirred into meals. The boxes, once carriers of indulgence, now carry life, proving that usefulness has no end. In another space, soda bottles once emptied and forgotten are reborn as lettuce beds. Cut and arranged carefully, they line a wooden rack like rows of promise. Their clear plastic glimmers under daylight, while roots stretch eagerly into soil. Every leaf of lettuce feels like a triumph of creativity, a gift from waste turned resource. Coffee cans, dented yet sturdy, sit proudly on a garden shelf. Painted in soft hues, they cradle mint and rosemary. Their fragrance lingers in the warm air, adding not only beauty, but utility. They remind us that freshness can come from the simplest vessels. The essence of Tiny Harvest Corner lies in the intimacy it creates. It proves that even in cramped spaces, nourishment can grow. Every container, no matter how small, becomes a stage for nature's quiet performance. And in return, the garden feeds both body and spirit. Here, gardening is not only about sustenance, it is about connection. It teaches us that abundance is not measured in size, but in creativity and care. With each herb picked, each lettuce leaf harvested, we taste not only food but the story of renewal. When space runs out beneath our feet, the answer is to look up. Vertical vintage walls celebrate the art of growing upward, turning forgotten objects into living walls of green. It is a way to embrace abundance without demanding more ground, proof that beauty and harvest can flourish even in the smallest spaces. Picture an old pallet, once used to carry heavy loads, now mounted on a garden wall. Its cracks and stains remain, but within them, herbs and flowers bloom. Basil and thyme spill from the gaps, while marigolds add splashes of yellow. The wall, once bare, now breathes with color and scent. On a fence, rows of plastic bottles gleam with life. Each bottle cradles soil, roots stretching visibly through clear plastic. Strawberries dangle like jewels, their red brightness glowing under the sun. What once held only soda now holds sustenance, turning waste into wonder. Even a simple shoe organizer, hanging where space was scarce, becomes a tapestry of green. Each pocket is a tiny pot, filled with blossoms or herbs. The site is playful, practical, and profoundly hopeful. The spirit of vertical vintage walls lies in their ingenuity. They remind us that constraints are not limits, but invitations to create. By stacking upward, by reusing what others overlook, we find new dimensions of growth. Every vertical garden is more than decoration. It is a lesson in resilience. It shows us that life adapts, climbs, and thrives even in tight spaces. And in those green walls, we find not only freshness for our kitchens, but serenity for our hearts. Here, the garden becomes both shelter and story, rising with each leaf toward light. There is something timeless about the sound of water. It soothes, it refreshes, it transforms a garden into a place of calm. Rustic water feature brings this gentle magic into small spaces, using recycled objects to create fountains that are as poetic as they are sustainable. Imagine an old wooden barrel, its staves darkened with age, now holding a fountain. Water rises and falls, trickling into a stone basin below. Ferns gather around its base, moss creeping along the damp edges, making the scene feel ancient yet alive. Nearby, a watering can, once a tool of labor, now pours endlessly. Placed on a bed of stones, it is given a pump to mimic the rhythm of rain. Each drop sparkles in sunlight, catching the eye, refreshing the spirit. Its sound is not loud but tender, like a whisper that carries peace. Even a cracked clay pot, abandoned in a corner, can sing again. With a simple adjustment, water flows from its edge into a shallow pool lined with smooth pebbles. The site is modest, yet the atmosphere it creates is rich, an oasis within the simplest of gardens. The charm of rustic water feature lies in its humility. It shows us that beauty need not be grand to be profound. The sound of water, steady and soft, has the power to quiet the mind and soften the heart. In these features, crafted from what was once forgotten, we are reminded that life is not only about growth but about flow. Water finds its path, and so do we. In gardens adorned with such fountains, nature and memory blend, turning small spaces into sanctuaries of serenity.